So yeah, warm welcome to this student session with Linnaeus University. And today our students are going to be in focus, and I'm going to try and not talk so much. So Linnaeus University is a modern international university in the Småland region of Sweden. And as I said, the students will be in focus. I will just say a brief word about me and my colleague that is here. So my name is Sofia Bugge, and I work as a communication officer at Linnaeus University, and I work specifically with international student recruitment. And with me, I also have my colleague Henrik, that is also a communication officer at Linnaeus University. And he will mostly be in the chat, just answering the questions that you guys have. Because as I said, the main focus of today is students and the student life and student perspective. But I know that a lot of you will have questions that are not related to that, and we will do our best to try to answer them in the chat during the session. But as I said, they will not be in focus. So with that said, I will hand the word over to our student ambassadors, and I thought you, Giga, could start by telling a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Sophia. Hi to the international students I see in the chat. I'm Giga, I'm from Georgia. I study entrepreneurship, sustainability, and social change master's program at Linnaeus University in Växjö campus. And it's my second year of the studies. Probably you have seen some of my content on the LNU Instagram. And I'm happy to continue.
Yeah, so Giga, maybe you could just say a little word about what did you study before you came to Linnaeus University?
Yeah, before I came to Linnaeus University, I finished one master's actually at Tbilisi State University with particular focus on microeconomics and business and economics. And I also finished my bachelor's in the business administration. And I've decided to study on this particular program because I have professional experience and working experience at civil society institution in social entrepreneurship direction in the field of social entrepreneurship. And that's why I've decided to study on this particular program at Linnaeus University.
So what do you like to do when you're not studying?
When I'm not studying, in my spare time, I like swimming and gathering with my friends.
Thank you, Giga. Next out is Rizwan.
Hello, everyone. That's like 66 participants I see. Hi, I'm Rizwan. I'm from Pakistan. I did my bachelor's in physics with extra courses in pure mathematics, and I'm here studying physics master's program, and my focus is to the theoretical side, also called theoretical physics, and in particular quantum physics. And I'm at the Kalmar campus because there are two campuses, so I'm in Kalmar. And in my free time, I like to play football and dance. So that's pretty much about me.
What do you want to do after your studies, Rizwan?
I want to pursue a PhD because I want to go into research, and after PhD you do research and or you teach as well. So I'll probably teach and conduct research. That's like the plan.
You're on your first year, right?
Yeah, I'm in my first year right now.
Vayan.
Thank you, Sophia. Hi, everyone. I'm Vion. I'm from Kenya. I'm pursuing a Master of Science in International Affairs. I'm currently in my second year. And I have a Bachelor of Arts in Peace and Conflict Studies, which I pursued in Nairobi, Kenya, my home country. And yeah, I'm excited to talk to all of you about studying at LNU.
And what do you like to do when you're not studying?
When I'm not studying, I like jogging or going for a run, which I've adopted when I'm in Sweden. I was not doing that in my country because I was pretty active. And I like playing board games with my newfound friends. And once in a while, I watch a couple of series in Netflix.
I think we all do that. At least I'm a big Netflix fan as well. So because you, Vayani, are in your last year, what are your plans for after graduating?
I'm cut across pursuing a career in foreign policy or peace and security in terms of arms control, or maybe pursuing a PhD, but definitely working for at least 1 or 2 years before I pursue a PhD in a field I really focus on, mostly feminist security or just the role of women in peace and conflict.
So interesting, I think. So yeah, thank you, Vayan. And the last one we have here today is Sanja.
Thank you, Sophia. Hi, everyone. It's good to see that we have so many participants today. I'm Sanja. I come from North Macedonia. I'm currently in my second year of studies in the program, master's program, Entrepreneurship, Sustainability, and Social Change. And back home, I have a bachelor's from the Faculty of Economics with a specialization in electronic business, similar to e-commerce. And yes, I'm happy to answer all your questions today.
Yeah, and what do you do when you're not at the university studying?
Yes, I've adopted the culture of fika here in Sweden, to have a coffee break with friends, have dinner with them. I like studying different languages, so I've taken studying Swedish. And yeah, just relax, read a good book.
Thank you, Sanja. It's so nice because most of you guys, unfortunately, I missed you, Vayan and Rizwan, you were in Kalmar, but both Giga and Sanja and Vayan were at our studio yesterday and helped us to record the voices for our upcoming campaign that will be released, I think, before the summer. So keep tuned for their voices for the future as well. That was just a side note. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, I thought we would talk a little bit about Sweden in general, and then a little bit more about academic studies in Sweden, Linnaeus University, and the study life. And then the students will give their top tips to apply to a Swedish university. And then we will have a Q&A. And I know that you guys probably have a lot of questions, but a lot of your questions will be answered during the presentation. So bear that in mind when you ask the questions as well. So before handing over to the students, I just thought I'd tell you some brief facts about Sweden. We are quite a small country and we have a population of 10 million people, and the capital of Sweden is Stockholm. We are a parliamentary democracy, and it's a very secularized country. So it's open to many different religions. And in Sweden, you are free to be who you are and have the belief you have or not have. Swedes also have the second highest proficiency in English as a second language in the world, according to Education First English Proficiency Index. So 90% of the Swedish population is fluent in English. So you will get around well knowing just English when you are here studying. Some famous thing from Sweden is, of course, fika that we mentioned before, but Swedes are also known to be quite friendly and helpful. They might be a bit reserved at first, but once you get to know them, you have friends for life. So some famous Swedes are Greta Thunberg, Avicii, Zlatan, ABBA, Swedish House Mafia, Lykke Li, and Robin. And Sweden is in the top 5 in the world when it comes to innovation, safety, democracy and human rights, sustainability, and gender equality. Some famous companies are IKEA, H&M, Ericsson, Volvo, and Spotify. So some brief words about Swedish nature, because everyone who's been in Sweden or knows something about Sweden knows that Swedes love their nature. And we have quite a lot of it, because actually 63% of Sweden is covered in forest and 9% is lakes and rivers. So that means that it's only around 30% that actually are people living on the area. So we're quite few people on a big area, and the population density is 24.5 inhabitants per square kilometers. And just to give you something to compare to, Pakistan has 287, Bangladesh has 1,115, Germany has 240, and Cameroon has 56. So you will have quite a lot of space. And that's something that a lot of our international students say as well, that they're not so used to the quietness that Sweden has. Something unique about Sweden is allemansrätten, which is the right of public access. So that means that anyone is allowed to roam freely in the countryside, swim and travel by boat in someone else's water, pick mushrooms in the forest, and as long as the land is not cultivated and as long as no damage is caused, this means that most of Sweden's nature is yours to explore. Sweden has different seasons, which means that the weather might vary. Right now we're in the fall, and outside on my window it's gray and a little bit rainy, and it's 2 degrees. So it's getting colder, winter is coming. And the weather might differ depending on the season, from 25 degrees in the summer to down to minus 15 degrees in the winter. So that was just some brief words. And now I thought we could ask a little bit to our students about how it was with their first experience with the Swedish culture. So Sanja, how was it to move to Sweden?
Yes, well, I moved now, it's been a year and a couple of months. And actually, from where I come from, there was a direct flight to Växjö, which was really convenient and eased up, I would say, the process of struggling too much on the moving day, and just it was rather convenient. But I found people, even on the first encounter, to be really helpful and polite. I remember asking many people, I was struggling to find my apartment, where exactly it was, and I was asking them for the internet because I didn't have it on my phone. So they were really helpful and really polite, and always with a smile on their face, and which made me think even on the first day that I'm in the right place for me, in the right country to study and live. So generally, I would say I have a rather positive experience with the Swedish people. And I've learned to love more and more the culture and some specifics that's different from the place where I come from, like the culture of fika, or how I see that they're very closely connected with nature, and how I necessarily did not appreciate nature and being able to go every day outside for a walk in this beautiful surrounding space here in Växjö with many lakes and many forests. But it has grown on me, and I have really appreciated more, and now I appreciate even more my culture and also the place where I come from. So yeah, all in all, it's been really great experience, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear, Sanja. How was the first couple of days in Sweden for you, Vajan? I mean, you've been here for a while now, but can you remember how it was when you first arrived?
Yes, I can. The first day was actually the trickiest because I traveled during the pandemic, so it was not very easy. I landed in Stockholm. It was my first time in Stockholm, and I think I carried too many things, but I managed to reach Växjö, which is very organized. I was able to get the housing, which the school helped me to get through the international office. So that was quite an easy process. And when I got settled in, it was in a mini student corridor apartment, where I was delighted to meet students from other countries, Spain, Italy, of course, Sweden as well, Iran. And I was so happy I was not alone, because we could discuss many things, and over time we became very good friends. And I loved the weather. I loved the campus. I got housing just near the campus, 2 minutes walk from the campus. Yeah, and I loved starting the classes on time rather.
I'm glad to hear. Rizwan, what about the Swedish culture surprised you the most?
Well, there's so many good things about the Swedish culture. I guess I would mention the surprising part to be the only part that is like not for me, is the introvert nature of the people, because I'm an extrovert. So I'm very warm, and community and communal family vibes is my thing. Like I don't consider strangers, but the Swedish people in general are very reserved. They're like introverts, and But even that, I don't consider anything negative or off-putting, because there is so much good that exists everywhere here, from nature to how everything is so organized, be it a department or general public living, that you really can't see anything negative at all, even if you try. And that has been my experience. For example, I'll give one specific example that I came here last year, as you know, and I was here for 4 months in 2020 during the COVID, before lockdown that was put in place in Sweden in November, and during it as well for 2 months. And the beauty of the natural beauty of this country was so astounding that because over here, if you're a student, chances are you're either walking or you're on a bike. So if I leave my place and I'm walking for a few seconds, I would have to stop to take a picture of some scenery. And I'm not even joking when I say that I literally got physically tired one day of, having to stop and take pictures. I was like, I'm going to ignore this beauty for my sane mind, and I'm just going to keep walking. And when I reach the destination, I'll be inside. Then I go back home and I'm inside. I'll ignore everything around in the intermediary path, because I'm really attracted to nature, like aesthetics, be it a painting or music or landscape. And so music and paintings exist everywhere, but the natural beauty of the landscape was so unique to Sweden, because I've been in Sweden and Pakistan. I've not been around the world, so to say. So Sweden's natural beauty was a revelation. So I have thousands of pictures that I just stored. So it's been amazing.
I'm glad to hear. So Giga, now that we're talking about the pandemic as well, because you have been here, how has it been, and how is the situation now in Sweden when it comes to the pandemic?
In that sense, Sophia, I want to note that during the pandemic, during the COVID outbreak in the world, we have been living in the best country with the least social restrictions and with just responsibilities of ourselves. And I think it quite well achieved its results, because it was really nice to live in Sweden during the pandemic, and especially after the vaccination. Even though the young generation were allowed only in summer to be vaccinated, not before, after the summer, it really got on tracks, and now we don't have any COVID outbreak, neither in campus, neither in the city, in Växjö, because situation is quite calm, and we are back to normal, like for 3-4 weeks, as I remember already. Even all recommendations regarding the students' pubs or student association activities, everything is lifted. So we are enjoying our life, our student years, and I think this is the best time to be in Sweden while the world is struggling with the COVID. We are living here normally.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear. Yeah, we also had the vaccination buses coming to campus so that students could get vaccinated on campus, which was a real hit. A lot of students went there and get vaccinated. So guys, before we move on, just in one sentence, or maybe two then, what is the best and the worst with Sweden? Giga, when you're still up, you can go.
Okay, the best one is this: people respect you, and people respect your privacy, and they know the boundaries, which is problem in many countries, I suppose. So this is I would emphasize this as a really, really nice positive factor. And the worst in Sweden is streaming, which is this aged fish, kind of, in the cans.
Oh, oh yeah, it's like a fermented fish. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend anyone to try it. So Vajon, best and worst with Sweden.
Okay, like Rizwan, I would say the reserved nature of Swedish people, even Swedish students. And the best, I would say, it's the environment, the greenery in Sweden, the fashion statement, because Swedish people have a type of dress code, which I find to be quite relaxing and still fashionable. Some Swedish foods, but most importantly for me, the Swedish celebrations like Midsummer. I really enjoyed Midsummer so much. And I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, it's a beautiful time of the year. So yeah, just one short question for Rizwan before we move on. Rizwan, how is the weather? Are you surviving here in Sweden?
I love the weather. Even in Pakistan, I always waited for the cloudy days to come. So that's a pretty subjective answer, but yeah, I love the weather. But that's actually an advantage for me, right? Because it's mostly going to be cloudy. You don't see the sun much, but I don't want to see the sun anyway. So I love it here.
I'm glad to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so I realized that I might be a bit ambitious on what we're going to get through this hour, so I'll just keep on going. So just a brief, if you want to learn more about Sweden, I recommend sweden.se. It's a great place to read more. And if you want to read more about studies in Sweden, I would recommend studyinSweden.se. And if we move on to Linnaeus University, I just want to tell some brief words before I leave the word back to our students. So Linnaeus University has 44,000 students and 15,000 full-time equivalents. We have 2,000 employees, and we are Sweden's 6th largest university in the number of students. We are also one of Sweden's youngest universities, and we were established in 2010 as a merge between two already existing universities. At Linnaeus University, we offer high quality education. We have 50 programs taught in English and over 500 courses, both on bachelor and master level. And we combine the highest possible quality education with the demands of both the surrounding community and our students. And in Times Higher Education Impact Ranking, we were ranked top 100 out of 1,115 universities when it comes to quality education. And in Shanghai ranking, we were listed top 8 to 900 out of 18,000 universities. So I think it's sure to say that we offer high quality education. As I mentioned, we have both bachelor and masters, and we have quite a broad of mix when it comes to programs. So it's both business and economics, behavioral science, computer science and IT, cultural studies and social science, design and language, mathematics, natural science, and technology and engineering. We also offer PhD positions, but if you want to apply for a PhD in Sweden, PhD is like a job. So you find them on the job vacancies on lnu.se, and there you can apply for a PhD position. So I thought we could talk a little bit about Linnaeus University and the academic system in Sweden. So Sanja, how has it been to study in Sweden? What is the biggest difference compared to your home country?
I would say it's the level of freedom. I feel the system and the teachers here and how everything is organized allows you to really, as an individual, stand out, and it gives you a lot of possibilities to learn as much as you want to. So I feel that you can get as much of the system as you will put into with effort and time. So that is really different, where the teachers guide you throughout the process, but do not necessarily hold your hand step by step. It's up to you to decide how much you want to explore the topic, how much in depth you want to go into a certain subject, and it's a huge difference in terms of freedom and responsibility, where here the responsibility is mainly on you as a student. So yeah, I would say that's the biggest difference.
How about you, Giga? What was the most difficult with starting to study in Sweden?
For me, most difficult was following the weekly readings, if I say so, because it was a lot of readings for each week we had to follow. And I think I would recommend everybody not to skip even 1 week, otherwise it will be really hard to read everything. Generally, as Tanya mentioned, we have quite we are quite a responsible students, in the sense that we are deciding how we are going to study and what kind of grades and academic achievements we will achieve In that sense, we plan our months. And most extraordinary in Sweden, in Swedish educational system, is the consecutive classes. Because in many countries and country I'm coming from, we have 5-6 classes all together within one semester. And that means that all examinations and midterm exams and everything are together at the same weeks for all classes. But in Sweden, it's different. You start with one class. It's either 1 month or 2 months, depends on the credit numbers. And you're focused on this one class. So you have examinations and everything for this one particular class, then you finish it and continue with another class. So this is really extraordinary and in that sense remarkable in Swedish educational system.
Thank you, Giga. Vajon, what do you think of your program and the study style?
I like my program a lot. Normally we have 2 classes a week, and the remaining time is spent studying a lot, doing a lot of research and writing your papers. And what I like so much about it is that you're allowed to be as creative as possible in the way you place your arguments. And the faculty are like colleagues, even though they are in my country, they are your superiors, but when we have conversations and dialogues, it's like you're talking to a colleague and you can challenge them and they actually take it positively and also help you become a better person. So I like that it's like Giga said, the sense of freedom and creativity and just the ability to be able to read much more that you intended to, like I would in my home country.
I'm glad to hear. So Rizwan, how do you like your program?
Well, the program is actually, they have tailored it around making physics understood rather than presenting grades to people other than the university. Like, you know, the program is made that the lectures, if you are in class, the lecture would go slow if the students are not keeping up. Usually you see that teachers are concerned with completing what they had in mind on the board, regardless of if the students are following or not. But over here, the professor tailors his lecture live so that the students understand. And as Vajon said, that the teachers treat you as an equal, which is very surprising considering from where I'm from, that the communication is not hindered by taboos. And the teacher cares about the student has freedom to study at their own pace. And the exams are also tailored to, for example, I have had one final exam last Friday, and it was open book. And that worked well with what the subject was. It's subject to subject, be it computers or math. And I have mentioned this in the last meeting, but I would like to mention it again in this one, that the style here in my program, at least, is that the teachers, like, there is no quiz, there's only assignments before the final exam. And for the assignments, you have a lot of time and you work on them. You can discuss with your friends on the concepts and with your teachers. And when you give the assignments, now the marking is perfectly technical. Like, there is no grace marking or sympathy marking. It's actually very technical. But before you hand in the assignments, you have all the facilities in the world to understand what the question means. So that way, when you are given everything to understand, and then when you have submitted, you're marked 100% technical, this combination ensures that you do learn something. It's not memorization, it's not tricks, it's actually understanding the core material of what your subject is. So that's very unique, I found here in my program, at least. So.
And I will add about the examination. I think it's interesting for the students, prospect students, because in Sweden, most of the time we have 4 different kinds of examination styles. The first one is the take-home exams, when you are given the task to work on the paper for 4 or 5 days, sometimes even more. So you know it in advance and you are like working on the paper. It's like academic paper, you're writing methodology, everything, literature review, and other kind of main aspects of the academic papers. Sometimes it's oral examination, which means that you orally verbalizing what you mean and what thoughts you have and what what like ideas you have in your mind. And sometimes it can be like a podcast, sometimes it can be like a video, sometimes it can be live presentation in front of lecturers and teams. As well, we have the online examination where professors uploading set of questions and you are given 4 or 5 hours to answer all the questions, which was set by the professor. And we have writing examination, which is also, as Rizwan mentioned, open book principles and approach. And it's all about like you're given particular set of time and particular task you should solve. Most of the time, written exams are also 4 or 5 hours with the questions, like math, for example. In math, you can have this kind of examination. We, on our program, most of the time have take-home exams. So we work on the assignments and academic papers, and we also have oral examinations. And there was one example when we had written exam for 5 hours to answer the lecturer's questions. So I think this will be interesting for students. But this does not mean that it is easy, because I think open book approach in the examination is much more harder than the traditional examination which we are used to have in our home countries.
Yeah, and that's something about like the Swedish academic system, that it's quite flexible, both your schedule but also the examination form, so they can differ from each course, and obviously a lot from different programs as well. So I saw that we got some questions about housing, and I will just show you 2 slides about housing, and then we will talk about housing. But firstly, I thought you could answer this question, because I thought it was a little bit of a good question. Like, how would you define Swedish people's sense of humor? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm Swedish. I can't really, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer. So, but I heard that you were.
So I would say that the humor is always nice, but it should not be like familiarity with the person. I don't know if this word is precise in English, but we call it this familiarity, when you sometimes go beyond the humor, and you may unintentionally insult the person, so you should not be doing that in Sweden or anywhere else. But generally, yeah, Swedish people love the humor, especially after the working hours and after the student working hours as well, in the pubs and in social gathering places.
Yeah, I know. I heard like when I've been abroad that people find Swedes to be quite sarcastic or like ironic.
Yeah.
But hopefully not in a mean way.
No.
So
well, I can always make them laugh when I want to, and like the success rate is 100%. So I'd say that the Swedish sense of humor is perfect.
I'm glad to hear. So I just thought I would mention, as we talked about before, we have 2 different campuses. And on the campuses, we have different programs. So depending on what program you are interested in reading, you will be on different campuses. However, we also have a lot of distance programs, so you don't have to be in Sweden at all if you don't want to. But Växjö is the campus where we have the most students. I think it's like 60% there and 40% in Kalmar. So Giga, Sanja, and Vajon are in Växjö. And Växjö has 90,000 inhabitants, and it's one of Sweden's fastest growing cities. It has been called the greenest city in Europe because it has a major focus on sustainable development, but also because it is surrounded by forest and greenery. It is located in the heavily forested part of Småland, and that contributes to that the university has a major forest and wood industry research. Something that is quite unique about the campus in Växjö is that it's US style, which means that most of the students, they live on campus, but they also have everything they need on campus, like restaurants, pub, there's a gym, the library, lecture halls. So everything within 5 minutes walking distance. And if they want to go to the city, it's around 10 minutes by bike. Kalmar is the student city by the sea. It is a modern city, but with an ancient history. And it's a bit smaller. It has 70,000 inhabitants. And in Kalmar, we have city integrated university locations. So the university is in the middle of the city and just by the harbor. And we actually built brand new facilities there that opened in 2019. So it's really new and fresh and just with an ocean view from the library. There we have internationally prominent research in natural sciences that are linked to the Baltic Sea. And that is just because of its location, obviously, just by the Baltic Sea. So that was just some brief words about the different two locations that we have. And this one is located in Kalmar. So Rizwan, could you tell us a little bit both about Kalmar as a city?
Well, the first thing I would say is extremely beautiful. That's always going to be my first point. And second, it's peaceful. It's supremely peaceful. And I would like to say that the campus location is perfect because, as you said, it's by the harbor. Like there's the campus, and then there are literally boats and ships standing outside the library where I am right now. And then we have a castle just as a neighbor to the campus, and the castle is extremely beautiful. And you have city center like just beside the campus, like 2 minutes or 1 minute walking. So everything, like I know it's not US style, but considering the housing, the city center and all of this, it's so close together. It seems like it's all a big campus. Like it has that feeling. And Kalmar as a city, like I love the city. Like it's my favorite city. I've been in Stockholm, Kalmar, Växjö, and in Pakistan. But yeah, Kalmar is #1 for me because of the beauty piece and this architecture of having everything close by yet independent. So it's really it's a genius strategy. So I would say.
How was it to find housing in Kalmar?
Well, subjective answer. Last year I got lucky. I had no place to stay till I had landed in Kalmar. Like I was searching on the train that I had a very optimistic approach that I'll find something, and I did, but that was luck. And but this year I had to wait for Kalmar Hem, which is the housing company in Kalmar. They have student apartments and regular apartments, and student apartments there's one apartment and then there are different rooms. Every room is given to a student, and you have common kitchen, and bathrooms are common at times. And that could take time after application. And this is important for the students to know that when you apply for student housing, it takes like 1 month at least, in my experience. And for me, it did the same. Like it took 20 days for me to get a student apartment, and before that I was staying at a friend's place. And that's also luck, because if you have a friend or you have someone who knows you from someone, like that is luck. But if you want to find something, I would like to mention Facebook groups. Like in my experience, Facebook is supremely helpful for almost everything in Sweden. Housing and groups, activities, updates about university life and everything. It's all on social media, which is a very good thing because everybody's on social media these days. So for housing, I would suggest the Facebook group. I think it's called Lagin Heituri Kalmar. I don't know how to pronounce it right, but yeah, it's that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good Facebook groups.
Yeah.
And also, if you are a student in Kalmar, the Kalmar students also have housing guarantee. So once you come as new, you can get a guarantee housing for, I think, the first 6 months, if I'm right.
Like my point is, it's not hard. Like I don't false image that finding housing is hard. It's not hard. I would like to emphasize that it's not hard. So
I think as long as you plan, you'll be fine. So what would you guys say about Växjö? On the other hand, Vayan, how was it to find housing for you?
It was not difficult for me to find housing in Växjö because as a scholarship recipient, I got assistance from the university for initially 5 months. Then because of COVID, they extended it for another 5 months. And by that time, you're already inside the point system. So you get offers for so many houses, available houses by that time. So I would say it was a smooth process from the beginning, because by right now I've had so many points and I've had to cancel so many because now I have housing. And when I was in Växjö, I learned the word lagom, which means like sort of moderate. And I like that because sometimes it's good to be in a big city. I've always been a city type of person, but I also like countryside. But Växjö is like in the middle of everything. It's moderate, and that's what I love about it so much.
Glad to hear. So Sanya, how is your accommodation?
Yes, well, in the beginning, I got, I think, the same like Yvonne. I had it from the international students from university. I had assistants. And again, it was for one semester and then extended to one more. But I would like to emphasize how important it is to also gather points. So as once you know that you're admitted in the university, you can, I actually last year attended a webinar like this from Linnaeus University, and that's how I found out that, for example, the different housing companies, you can make an account once you're accepted and start gathering points even then. So once you arrive here, it would be easier in case you haven't found something yet or you haven't had support from the university. So therefore, I would like to emphasize it's important to have this system going, and because it works that you get a point for each day that passes. So therefore, you will have a lot of points by the time you will come here. And otherwise, there's so many Facebook groups and possibilities to connect with people. It's possible. I know a friend who has found accommodation within a house where a family lives, who can rent out a room of the house with a bathroom. So there are many different possibilities to be found here in Växjö.
Yeah, it's quite like we have so many different, there's many different options, all from like having your own studio apartment to having a room either in a house, like Sanya said, or in a shared corridor, so you share with other students. So Giga, what do you think of Växjö in general?
Yeah, Växjö is quite cozy and quite student city if you are living in campus. However, I would recommend everybody to stay in campus while they're studying, because Växjö is absolutely different in the city and absolutely different. I'm in downtown, and absolutely different in the campus we live. So in the campus, it's more like living with your friends for 2 years while pursuing your masters. Yeah, I think the students are also interested about the costs of living in Växjö, probably about the accommodation. So as Sanya mentioned, there are like several kind of accommodations, like when you want to have a room in the dorm, or when you share the accommodation with some other students, or when you have the room in the house, or when you have your private studio. So these prices are vary, but most of the time it's from 300 to 500 euros, depends your taste and your requirements. However, there's also like cheapest alternatives around 200 euros if you want to share the bathroom, like restrooms, and if you want to share the other kind of facilities, and if you want to have just room for sleeping, the same way in the campus you can have this kind of accommodation as well. But I would recommend to orient from 300 to 500 budget accommodations, which is quite decent and quite nice for students to live in a long term.
Yeah, I think that's correct, because it can vary quite a lot. Like you can get like a little more than 200 euros if you're lucky, but then like there's no upper limit, obviously, on how much you can spend on accommodation if you would like to. So I thought we could leave the housing and the questions regarding the cities and talk a little bit more about student life. Like, what are your best tips for finding friends when you move here? Vajon, do you want to start?
It depends. You can join student clubs. Though I must admit that I didn't manage to join student clubs because I was still adopting. but I managed to make a lot of friends through my classmates and through the corridor apartment mates that I had. And as a result of that, I managed to make more friends because we would go out for parties, though in a controlled way because there was the coronavirus, but that helped a lot. But I think if it was in a situation where there was no COVID, it would be easier for me to join other larger activities. Yeah, so my classmates and my corridor apartment colleagues.
Yeah, of course, COVID kind of put a mark on that. So that's why we are happy and like fingers crossed that it's not gonna get worse again. How would you say, Sanya, that it was to like, what's your tips to meet people?
I would agree from starting when you come to live in a student accommodation, it's very easy to make friends with your flatmates there. I would also suggest to join the local unions, associations, and sport clubs. For example, in Växjö we have it's called Olympen. It's the student gym on campus where there's, beside the gym and training center, there's many group sport activities. For example, the first year I was here, I partake in volleyball, and that's how I got to meet a lot of people and start to make those initial connections and eventually make friends. So I would suggest to take a starting look at what's there around you on campus, because there's many possibilities.
Yeah, and both in Kalmar and Växjö, there is something called ESN, which is a good place to meet friends if you like. It's like an organization that helps international students to integrate and meet people. So Rizwan, how has it been in Kalmar? How was it to come to Sweden and meet friends?
Well, I'll start with the easiest way, which you don't have to put in any effort. If you have classmates, you already have friends. And the second would be the people you live with, because it's probably not going to live alone here. You'll have apartment mates, housemates, roommates. So these two types of people are the easiest to be friends with, because you didn't put an effort to find them. But other than that, ESN is probably the best organization here where you can meet people, because they're having events after every 2 weeks. That's what I've observed. And other than that, sports activities like again, I would like to cite Facebook, because that's what I've found helpful. There are groups on Facebook. For example, there's English Speakers of Kalmar. That's a very specific group. And if you post there about, for example, football, then everybody who's plays football and is on that group, they actually invite you to play with them. And that's one way. And the other way is, for example, Sanya mentioned gyms. That's probably true. I haven't been to a gym here, but like dance clubs, wherever you go on the weekend to relax, people there can also become your friends. And I don't know about the student clubs apart from ESN and one more we have at Kalmar, but yeah, these are probably the options you can have to make friends. So
yeah, thank you. And something that might be worth mentioning is that usually once you come to campus when you're new, there is something called the introduction week, and it's a week where all the new students can meet and make friends. So it's a good place to start to meet some people, I would say. But we got some questions regarding like how it is to meet. Is it easy to make Swedish friends? What would you say, Giga?
I think in the campus we mostly have the international students around us, but it's still possible to have Swedish friends. I have one very close Swedish friend, so but because we are studying on the same program, but mostly our program is quite international in that sense. So I don't really think that if you are coming to study on our particular program, you will be able to meet a lot of Swedes in your program. But there are like different faculties and different activities in the campus where you can meet lots of people, including Swedes and other internationals. And in that sense, this is really, really important to be here I've been as a recommendation wise to be here during the introduction week, because in the introduction week, everybody seeks everybody. Everybody seeks friendship. Everybody seeks the people who are getting acquainted well and who have the same interests, and then they're settled. And if you come after like 2 months, 3 months of the studies, when everybody and everything is settled, I think it will be very much to incorporate yourself. And there's one more notable stuff happening, like in the August, at the end of August, in September, everything happens outside. Every gathering happens outside, so it's invitation free, and you can go and you can just like socialize. But as soon as winter months are coming, everything goes indoors and in the private apartments, and so people are with the invitations. So probably you won't be in the invited list if you have not been in touch before with the students. So I would recommend you to meet friends when there's like opportunity in the introduction weeks.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So we got a question: are there places for karaoke?
Yeah, I
Okay.
answered like a lot of places for karaoke.
I think they have karaoke at the student pub in Växjö now and then as well, right?
Yeah, it's
I
one
think
day,
so.
I think.
Yeah.
One day in a week, you can have a karaoke in campus.
Yes, and they also have like a quiz night, I think every Wednesday or Thursday. So there's different activities within those pubs and clubs.
Yeah, oh, that's great. I was actually thinking to sneak in as a student one day soon and join the quiz. So yeah, do you guys have anything more to add about student life before we move on?
I don't think so. If
Okay.
there's no particular question regarding that.
I don't think there is. So something that I should mention, that I should already have mentioned before, is that all of the students that you are meeting here today, you can also chat with them. So at lnu.se/en/chat, we have a chat system called Unibody, and there you can find all of these guys. So they are happy to help you also after the session today. I know we got a lot of questions regarding scholarships, and we're not going to talk so much about that today. But since I know it is a question that a lot of you guys have, we will just mention it in a brief word. And I thought that some of the scholarships, the guys here today that got the scholarship could just give you a tip or two. So as you can see on my screen now, scholarship programs. Linnaeus University offers a scholarship program that covers up to 75% of the tuition fee. It is a scholarship program for master students. And to be able to apply for this scholarship, you have to put Linnaeus University as your first choice when you are applying to universities in Sweden. You can also apply for something called the Swedish Institute Scholarship. It is also for master students, and it covers all of the tuition fee and the living costs. So it's possible to apply for both of these scholarships. And we had approximately 100 scholarship holders the summer and autumn of 2020. If you want to apply for scholarship for a bachelor student, if you're a bachelor student, we have no scholarships that you can apply for before starting, but we have scholarships that you can apply for during your studies, which mean that you can apply for your second and third year if you'd like. So I thought we could just ask Vajon, what are your best tips for your scholarship application?
I would just say prepare in advance, because for my scholarship with the Swedish Institute, I found it to be very, very short in terms of just a short paragraph for most of the questions. So prepare early, be precise, and just put your best achievements forward, because it's a competition and there are thousands of other equally qualified students applying. So just be precise, very detailed, and focus on your best achievements. And of course, give a reason why you deserve it more than anyone else, probably.
How about you, Rizwan? Because you received Linnaeus University scholarships, right?
Yep. So for the Linnaeus University scholarship, I would like to emphasize on 3 things that, in my observation, like, of course, I don't know how you award it, but Have excellent recommendation letters. You need 2 recommendation letters from your professors who were one of your teachers in bachelor's. So you need really good recommendation letters. There is a statement of purpose, a personal statement you have to write for the university, which is also going to be sent to the scholarship committee. You need to write it really well. It has to be honest, and it has to show that you really want to study what you're asking in the master's degree, the subject you're going to apply for. These 2 things, and the third would be, because when the university decides on a scholarship recipient, they look at the entirety of the application. That is, everybody should know that it's all of it looked together. They don't look at just one thing and ignore everything else. So the recommendation letters, the statement of purpose or the personal statement, and the third is, I'm guessing, is the CGPA. That 3 or above is pretty good. So out of 4. So these 3 things you should keep in mind. Yeah.
Thank you, Rizwan. I think we'll leave the scholarships on that note. And I see that we got some questions regarding working. It is possible to work on your student visa. And after your studies, you can also stay up to 1 year in Sweden looking for a job. We also have some programs that offer internships. However, we always say that it's possible to get an extra job, and a lot of our students work extra, but it is not that easy to find an extra job. So you can't really count on that income to survive on. So I thought we'll just leave it for that note and look a little bit about how to make an application. So I'll start by just showing you my slide, how to apply. So in Sweden, all applications are done through universityadmissions.se. The deadline to apply for the autumn semester of 2022 is 17th of January, and the last day to hand in your supporting documents is the 1st of February. And then the admission results come in the end of March, beginning of April. And also it's first after you have applied that you will get how to actually apply for the scholarship. So I thought maybe some of you guys could just share your best tip for a good application. How about you, Sanya?
Yes, well, as Rizwan mentioned, they look at you as a whole person and personality. So I would say to try your best to create a clear picture of who you are and what you've done. It's also important to show that you have references that can support your application and to have done some leadership experience throughout your life. I think that's an important thing that, for example, in the Swedish Institute Scholarship, which I also have, they very much look into this. So to have done some kind of community service and leadership activities within different fields is very appreciated.
So what would you say, Giga, your top 3 to do a good application to a Swedish university? Like what to bear in mind?
To be honest, I would recommend everybody to make a tailored documentations with the correct naming on the university admissions. So most of the students write one cover letter and they apply for 4 or 3 or 2 universities, and some of the time like about different programs, and they used one draft of the cover letter everywhere. So I think I wouldn't do that if I were them, and I would like tailor my cover letter or my CV or the interests to each particular program I'm applying for in the university. Because when you're applying for the sustainability program, you should pop up the main aspects, what you have done within the sustainability regards in your CV, and not write me about like the other kind of issues. And when you're writing about the business or entrepreneurship, you should pop up these experiences. So this is the first time I would recommend. The second one is that most of the students cannot really differentiate the difference between university admissions and scholarship admissions. I mean, the Swedish Institute Scholarship, they're absolutely different processes. and the documentations are required differently. So you should follow these 2 steps, even though they're in the same time frame. They're very, very much different. So I think you should focus on that. And about the recommendators, that third like recommendation, when you're choosing to have a recommendator, this is not necessary to have the executive or the like, I don't know, rector of the university where you studied. I think it's most suitable if you have the recommendator reference who had direct supervision experience towards you. So when you're, for example, business school student and you, for example, finished your master's, it's better if you would have the recommendation from the supervisor who had definitely had an experience of supervising your thesis, rather than from the dean or deputy dean who barely probably touched your like education experience or anything like that. So I think this is the third point, to have the proper recommendators where it's needed, especially in the Swedish Institute scholarship application. And some of the universities also require the recommendators. And I think, yeah, some programs, this is important.
Yeah, thank you, Giga. So I thought before I move on to the next questions I have for you guys, I just wanted to launch a poll. Are you planning to apply for Linnaeus University? Yes, haven't decided, no, or don't know. So while you guys answer that, we'll move to the next question. So just to wrap it up a little bit, why Linnaeus University? Rizwan, do you want to start?
Well, when I was looking for the universities, I started, of course, with which universities had my program, Masters in Physics, and there were a few, and Linnaeus University was among them, and I chose it for the first one because I was going to apply for the scholarship. So that helps in, because there is a point when you have to decide, like, okay, there are 4 because you apply to 4, and then which one should I place where? So the scholarship helps place in Linnaeus University first, and then care about the other ones. And I'm really grateful for that, because Linnaeus University is not only, as you said, has a high quality education, but everything else we've talked about, from location in Kalmar, it's by the sea. Växjö, it's all surrounded by greenery, and the attitude of the teachers and all the facilities, Swedish culture, everything together makes it like, it can't get better than this, to be honest. Like, in order for you to learn something, you need to have the maximum facilities dedicated towards your learning. And I think Linnaeus University has done that. Like, it's a new university, but I don't see any room that it has left for improvement. Like, I think everything is there. It's like, I think it's come to the maximum facility for students a university can. So I'm really grateful I did that I put it first, although I did for the scholarship, but I'm grateful I did it. So, yeah.
Thank you, Rizwan.
Thank
So
you.
how about you, Vayan? Why should students choose to come to Linnaeus?
Okay, for me, I can share 2 reasons. One is more personal, because I looked at the faculty. Because of my previous background, I'd done a couple of things with the European Union and the European Parliament, and most of my faculty members, I can say 3 professors, have written books about it and have engaged with the different EU committees. So when I saw that they're the teachers who are going to take over the program, that inspired me even more to apply to Linnaeus University. But other than that is the fact that when we look at the issues of climate change now, Linnaeus University focuses on sustainability, recycling, green environment, and all those things are very important for me as well. So that those 2 played a very important decision for me to choose LNU in particular, and not any other university in Sweden.
I'm glad to hear. That's actually one of the reasons I choose to work here as well, because of its major focus on sustainability and everyone's equals, right? So how about you, Sanya?
Yes, I would agree with everyone how sustainability is a major part of almost all of the programs at LNU. And I would say one of the reasons I chose it and chose Linnaeus University is the possibility to kick off or start off my career and have some more career possibilities within, personally for me, sustainability and social development However, also I felt that Linnaeus University could give me the ground to prepare me better for a career in Sweden, as well as a career in a more international context, as the program is in English. So therefore you have a lot of other possibilities opening up. And also with a lot of programs, there's the possibility to do an exchange semester abroad at one of the partner universities of Linnaeus University within Europe or outside of Europe, or to do a traineeship, which I'm currently doing as part of my studies here in Växjö. So it gives a great connection between and a gap between the practical and theoretical parts of a master's program, which I think could be useful for every student.
Thank you, Sonia. So last out, Giga, why should students choose to come to Linnaeus University?
Yes, Sonia quite comprehensively talked about the program and the benefits of it. And I would like to say the same, that this is really important to have an options, and that's why I came to the Linnaeus University, because I also like that, you know, in our program, for example, we have 2 years masters, because personally I think that 1 year master is not enough time frame to pursue your master correctly, because you need to have student life, social life, you need to focus on your masters when it's necessary, when time comes. And that's why I came to Linnaeus, because I like this 2 years program, that I like this options I could choose on the 3rd semester to go abroad, to have an internship, or to pursue my credits. And this is really flexible in that sense. And I would recommend others to do the same as well. The first year, you are more about like you have more about basic courses, theoretical courses where you just grab the concepts of the entrepreneurship, like about the business, how we operate, about the design thinking, about this entrepreneurial issues. And in the second year, you are more about the qualitative and quantitative research, and more about proper academic work creation. And for example, I did not go neither abroad, neither to the practical courses. I just chose this academic studies for the 3rd semester, and now we have upcoming master's thesis, which is a quite huge task to do.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting times ahead. Yeah, guys, so for the poll that I just put out, are you planning to apply for Linnaeus University? 77% of you answered, and 82% said yes. So that is great. I'm really happy to hear that. And for you 13% that haven't yet decided, you still have some time. It's not until the mid-January where the deadline is. So yeah, please join our webinars again, and maybe we can, I wanted to say convince you, but yeah, show you more about what Linnaeus University are, so that you can make a good choice. So if you guys want to meet us again on the 22nd of November, we have a webinar about academic studies in Sweden. And on the 7th of December, we have a webinar called Study at Linnaeus University. And the 14th of December, one about student life. And if you want to find these, you can go to lnu.se/en/meetus. And there you will find all of the webinars and fairs that we are partaking in this autumn. But I also wanted to ask you guys, because this webinar was quite popular today, I just wanted to send the last poll while we wrap up. Would you like more sessions like this? So do you want us to do more sessions where our students are the one in focus and answering the questions? And while we wait for that, oh, I forgot to say something very important. You can chat with both Giga, Vajan, Sanja, Ritzvand, and our other student ambassadors at lnu.se/en/chat. And if you can't get enough of our student ambassadors, I would recommend you to follow us on Instagram, because they show up there quite a lot and do Instagram takeovers and some short videos. If you want to follow us on social media, we have both a Facebook account and an Instagram account that I talked about. We have a YouTube channel where this will be posted, this webinar, and we also have a WeChat if you the Chinese social media account. And as I said before, like if you want to get in contact with us, I would recommend study at lnu.se, because that's where you will be able to reach me and my colleagues. Except for that, I would recommend you to go into lnu.se to look for like the programs you like. We also have an inspirational portal, lnu.se/study. So I would also recommend you to visit that one. And I know that we also had, we've been a couple of minutes over the time. I was hoping that we would be wrapped up by 2, but it was so much fun to talk to all of you guys. So I see that the poll, do you want more sessions like this? 98% said yes, and only 2% said I don't know. So I'm going to count that as a yes. So then I think we'll add another webinar for December, where we will meet with our student ambassadors again. Unfortunately, we will not have time to wrap up for the last questions, but I'm looking at them now, and I think most of them we already went through. And as I said, you can always chat with our student ambassadors, and you can also email us at study@lnu.se or our admission office at admission@lnu.se. So guys, I want to say a big thank you for joining us today, and also thanks a lot to our students that have been here and spending their time with us this afternoon. I had a really good time, and I hope you guys had as well.
Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you. It was really great.
And thank you for everybody who attended the meeting.
Thank you for having me here, and so good to see you all after such a long time.
Yeah, so guys, I'll see you around.
Hey,
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.